It really seems like Auburn is failing Cam Coleman.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Daryl Dappridge, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us as he does every single Wednesday. Do we see a new offensive line in 2025, or is what we see this weekend going to be a big part of that? We touch on that, as well as the snap counts for the freshmen. Can we look at what happened last week and kind of project that for the rest of the season? All that's coming up. Daryl, Auburn has let Cam Coleman down. There is no reason why Cam Coleman shouldn't be performing at a higher level than he has so far this season. Sure, he missed a little bit of time due to that injury. But whether it's scheme, whether it's play calling, whether it's quarterback play, Auburn has let Cam Coleman down.
I don't feel like he's gotten enough touches, enough targets. I think part of the reason too, Zach, is you look across the state and you see what Ryan Williams is doing, and you feel like Cam Coleman is every bit as talented. He's a little bit older, more mature. And I think that's part of the reason. You expect or would think that Cam Coleman could do those type of things. He did miss a couple games, and even the games that he came back, if you've got a shoulder problem, difficult for a wide receiver. But I don't think that he has been targeted enough.
Right.
I don't think that there's been enough play schemed for him enough.
Yes.
He just touch the ball, even little slants. See what he can do yards after the catch, right? Bubble screens. Let's run that every once in a while. Put the ball in his hands and see what happens. We've seen the flashes.
Right.
We've seen the moments. So I think he needs to be targeted a lot more. I don't think it needs to be at the expense of anybody else. I just think more targets need to come Cam Coleman's way more.
Yeah, I think so. And yes, he had those two that went off his hands that resulted in interceptions. Sure, like that stinks. But you can't ignore Cam Coleman at this point. And like we've seen such glimpses of like, oh my goodness, he's so good. I'm so glad you mentioned Ryan Williams because that is part of it. That is part of it. I mean, these were the two big freshmen, both in state, two of the top three receivers in their respective class. And it's like, wow, Ryan Williams is really cooking in Tuscaloosa. But then the other one that was kind of mentioned, they were mentioned as a trio in like national recruiting talk was Ryan Williams, Cam Coleman, and then Jeremiah Smith, who's at Ohio State. And it's like, you can't watch an Alabama game without seeing Ryan Williams featured in the offense. You can't watch an Ohio State game without Jeremiah Smith being a big part of the offense. And it's like anytime an offense outside of Auburn gets one of these elite players at a position where it's like, this guy's good enough to run the offense through, we aren't doing it. We aren't doing it. And to me, that is on the coaching staff. There are easier ways to get the ball in the hands of some of these receivers because you see it all throughout the country. And for some reason, that's not happening here.
That's what I wanted to look at. I kind of wanted to see if it was because KLS was having such a great year. You know, what was it because they were shading more towards the Cam Coleman side? Were they doubling Cam Coleman? Was the safety coming over towards Cam Coleman? That's why Keandre Lambert-Smith's having such a good year. I don't think that's the case. I mean, with Keandre Lambert-Smith and Malcolm Simmons getting the touches that they're getting or the big plays that they're getting, the opportunities, I think it's there for the taking. But like we just said, is it a scheme? Is it not calling the right plays? Just get the ball in his hand, 5-yard hitches, things like that, just to let him touch the ball and see what he can do yards after catch.
Do you want to guess how many times Cam Coleman has been targeted this year, 9 yards downfield or fewer? That includes behind the line of scrimmage. You want to guess?
9 yards. Okay, I'm going to say 4 times.
6.
That's unacceptable.
I agree. I
think you've touched on it. I think with Cam Coleman, Auburn has only schemed feast or famine type. They've only schemed like downfield plays with him instead of trying to just.
He has 10 targets where he's 20 yards or more downfield.
Yep.
He has 6, 10 to 19, and then 6, 0 to 9. Not one attempt behind the line of scrimmage, which I don't know. Maybe I'm higher on those types of plays than other people are. Maybe it's because I watched Tom Brady growing up. That was kind of the offense that they ran. I don't know. But it's just when you're stalling, they always called them drive starters. And it's just okay, get the ball, get an easy completion, get an easy reception. And he's good with the ball in his hands after the catch as well. I don't get it. I don't get it. It works everywhere else, and we don't even seem to be trying it.
The bubble screens, the ball behind the line of scrimmage, the 5-yard hitches, the 5-yard slants, all those I think could turn into big plays. How many times, Zach, have you seen that little 7-yard slant and the guy catches it and just splits the defense and he's gone? Cam Coleman can do that. Now, people will push back on this and say, yeah, maybe it's not scheme. Maybe it's that he's running open. Maybe that's the quarterback issue that Alabama and Ohio State doesn't have. But I have heard that all the freshman wide receivers that are good and they're talented are having problems with their route running, as far as running the right routes, recognizing defenses and when to cut the route off, when to take it to the corner, whatever it is from a schematic standpoint. I've heard more than once that they're having problems running their routes and running
routes.
Well,
let me ask you a question then. I'm going to assume that's true. We're talking about 4 players, right? In that case, Bryce Cain, Malcolm Simmons, Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson. I think we all agree those are 4 talented players who have been very good at football their entire life. And if all 4 of them, if that's true, if your source is true, and it sounds like you've been told that by multiple people, what's the common denominator there? You're telling me all 4 of them are struggling with routes?
Well, Hugh Freeze said it in the press conference when he talked about that one particular route that somebody cut off. He said that about all the freshman receivers. He said they're running the routes right in practice. But his exact words, Zach, go back to the presser. When the bullets start flying, they're different. They cut the route off 2 yards too short, whatever. So I don't know. You might be – in this case, they're coaching it up right in practice. They know what to do because they're doing it in practice, and then they get in a game scenario and they change.
Yeah.
Perfectly normal, though, and understandable for freshmen. I just don't understand why it doesn't happen to other freshmen on other teams. That's the frustrating part. And then work around that then. Give them a little bit simpler routes to run so you can still get the ball in their hands is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just you hear the players – current players talk about the offense, and it just seems like there's a lot going on. And then you see either coaches or former coaches and former players be asked about Hugh Freeze's offense, and they talk about how simple it is. And it's just where's the disconnect in this? Both of these things can't be true at once. Are they just not teaching it well? I don't know. It's been very eye-opening. But yeah, Auburn's letting Cam Coleman down right now, and would love to see more of him moving forward. Speaking of freshmen, you're seeing that snap count number go up and up and up. We're going to play a little game in just a moment. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is the best place to find qualified candidates for your business quickly and for free. Daryl, you use LinkedIn Jobs when you hire for your company.
One outside my window right now doing some stuff for us that we had to get.
They're just watching you? He's just watching you through the window?
I got my blinds down, but I can hear him out there doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is a great thing when you've got employees. Just absolutely a great hire because of how they vet employees and kind of taking all the legwork. So by the time you get to the interview process, a lot of the work is done for you, Zach.
Yeah. You've got a million things. Every time I call you during the day to talk about topics, it's you got a million things going on. You don't have time just to spend extra time on hiring folks. So LinkedIn takes that out of your hands. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. It's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Daryl Dapprich, let's play a game. There's been, a big talking point, rightfully so, especially with the situation Auburn's in. When you start losing, you start thinking about the future. And I want to look at the snap counts from Auburn's loss against Missouri by the freshmen and say, do we think they'll play more or less against Kentucky this weekend?
All right.
Let's start with Malcolm Simmons. He played 15 snaps this past Saturday.
I'm going to say he goes slightly more.
Yeah, I think so too. He's played 20 twice, 24 against New Mexico and 22 against Georgia. I think that's going to become more and more of a staple as the season goes on.
And the caveat to that, Kentucky's so good against the run, Auburn may have to throw it more. So if they throw it more, he should get more snaps.
Or do they do some gadget stuff and he's kind of become that guy with like sweeps and motion and stuff like that, get the ball in his hands quickly. Yeah, I'm all about it. Not a freshman, but an important piece for the future. Jeremiah Cobb, 16 snaps against Missouri. It's the first time this season he's played more than Damari Austin did. I think Austin played eight snaps. Doesn't matter. Not a point of the conversation. Does Jeremiah Cobb do more or less than 16 snaps against Kentucky?
Less, because of if they're having trouble running it, they're going to go with the proven veteran guy that they can lean on. So I think Hunter gets a lion's share of those snaps, thereby Cobb by default gets less.
Okay. And Damari played 7 snaps this past weekend. Perry Thompson. It's been a curious one for me. I don't understand it, but he played 8 snaps against Missouri. Does he play more or less? I agree with everything you've said so far, by the way. So Perry Thompson, 8 snaps more or less against Kentucky.
More.
Good. I hope you're right. I've said that the last month, and it hasn't been true. So he's played 21 snaps against New Mexico, and he played 12 against Arkansas. But outside of that, 3 against Oklahoma, 10 against Georgia. Thought we were going to start to see kind of that trend, and then we didn't. 8 against Missouri. I think it's going to be in that ballpark. I think it'll be between 8, 9, or 10. I think it'll be in there, but I would love for it to be like a legitimate part of the offense.
I think you'll see that. I think because you'll see a lot of 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver sets. If Kentucky is doing what they do, their defensive line is very, very good, very good at stopping the run, but teams have thrown it on them and thrown it all over them. So maybe if you can go 3 wide, 4 wide, Perry Thompson gets on the field more.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, let's pivot to defensive players. And let's start with, I was going to say Jay Crawford, but he's going to play a ton regardless. Kinsley Fowson played 35 snaps. I mean, is he the new starter back there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he'll play less than that. I think that was
really.
Yeah, I think that Auburn's defense was really, really gassed by the time they got into the fourth quarter, and as a result of that, he played more snaps.
Okay. I mean, he performed well when he was in. He performed well for what that's worth. All right, let's go with I'm trying to find like rotation guys. Amaris Williams, 17 snaps. Seems like he's trending in the right direction. I'm saying more. I'm saying more than 17 against Kentucky.
I do too. I think so too. I think he's starting to, as the season goes on, you reward these players that have proven that they can handle the snaps and what you've given them by giving them more. And I think he's one of those guys that'll get more, and I think it'll pay off for Auburn. Something tells me he'll have a key, have a hand in something defensively. Yeah.
Making a play. You're calling it for Amaris Williams. I love that. They also made the decision when they played him this past weekend against Missouri to burn his red shirt.
If you burn his red shirt, you better play him more snaps. That's what
I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That was his fifth appearance.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that because I forgot that he played against Cal. He played 5 snaps against Cal, 6 against New Mexico, 5 against Oklahoma. Played a bunch at Alabama A&M. But this was kind of his first time he's played double-digit snaps outside of that season opener. So, I think Amaris you're going to see more and more of. DeMarcus Riddick played 20 snaps against Missouri. And that's it's actually less than what he has been doing. He burst onto the scene against Oklahoma, played 23, went up to 36 against Georgia, back down to 20 against Missouri. I think he's going to live in the 20 to 30 range for most of the games the rest of the season. So with that logic, I'll say more.
I'm going to say more, especially the type of quarterback that Kentucky has in Vandergriff, who's not very mobile, who's very, statuesque in the pocket. And that's the kind of dude you want DeMarcus Riddick on the field
point.
against.
Yeah.
You know, a guy that can break containment when you're over pursuing and you're so excited and you're so athletic and you're so young and you're pinning your ears back. Well, that and a guy that can break, contain, and get around the edge and use your aggressiveness against you is one thing. Vandergriff, again, I was surprised there's not water coming out of his mouth into a pond. He is a statue back there. And I think that DeMarcus Riddick will take advantage of that.
That was funny. I wish I was more engaged when you said that. That was great.
You know, the water coming out of
no, I thought Jake Crane was on the show for a second.
Into a fountain, yeah.
I got it.
That was Jake Crane-esque.
It was Jake Crane-esque, and I mean that in the best way, for sure. Malik Blockton, the defensive lineman, played 30 snaps against Missouri. That's a lot. He played 34 against Arkansas, but then this was his second highest outside of Alabama A&M. I'm going to say lower on the 30. I think it's 29 or less for Malik Blockton total snaps against Kentucky, but I'm not going to be mad if it's more than that. You're nodding your head. Do you think it's more?
Less. Because I don't think Auburn's defense is going to be on the field as much as they were against Missouri.
Whew. What a take.
You see what I'm saying?
True.
Because I do. Kentucky's offense is kind of anemic. They're not Missouri's offense. Remember what Auburn had to do the second half of the fourth quarter. I don't see Auburn's defense being on the field for as many snaps. Therefore, by default, he gets less.
Yeah.
I think his percentage of snaps will be the same. I just think total number of snaps will be down.
Got it. It's reasonable. Reasonable take there.
Trying to be a little reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. We try every now and then. Yeah. Then, like, I mean, there's several guys that have been getting, 40, 50, 60 snaps a game that are freshmen or are key guys in the future. So I didn't really.
Can I give you a wild card that I want to throw out there that I think is going to get more snaps?
Absolutely.
Micah Riley.
Okay.
Cole Kublik's doing some breakdowns on him and is really like how he's blocking the run and how he's setting the edge and getting out and doing what he's supposed to do. We also saw him catch a couple passes earlier in the year. I think he's earned some more playing time. I really do. And I don't know. I haven't seen him show up on an injury report, but didn't Rivaldo Fairweather almost get killed over the middle late in the game? Yeah. I mean, he was down and out of the game. I don't know if he came back in after that. So we don't know. I don't know if he's appeared on some kind of injury report. They released that tomorrow, whatever, maybe today. But I think Micah Riley's going to get more touches, more snaps.
I love that. Yeah, he played his season high of snaps against Missouri at 15, which feels low. And that could be a thing where you're trying to, persuade him to stay because you need him because you're losing so many tight ends after this season. And he's effective. I mean, I like how he moves in space. I like how he moves, in the open field, trying to create separation. So I'd love for him to be a larger part of this. I'm surprised he hasn't been up to this point, honestly.
Me too. And you talk about schemes and maybe letting certain players down, like we talked about Cam Coleman, that tight end drag where you boot out of one side and roll to the other is always open. He'd be a guy in space catching the ball that could really do some damage, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if they go too tight end and Rivaldo's the other guy.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You reverse
Rivaldo.
Reverse Peyton Thorne out. You play action, you reverse Thorne out, and he drags across to the right side and he's wide open, and then he can catch the run with the ball after the catch.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked. If anyone watched Monday night or Sunday night football last week, the Steelers and the Jets, Darnell Washington 8 on that play. And there's no reason why he can't.
Wow. All right. Does the offensive line that we see this weekend, is that a sign of things to come? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook. Dale, can you imagine wagering anywhere other than with our friends at FanDuel?
Could not. That doesn't make sense. Don't do things that don't make sense.
There we go. There we go. Hey, right now, Auburn is a 2.5-point dog. So if you feel confident in the Tigers, 1, reach out. Would love to talk to you. But 2, Auburn plus 2.5. Auburn plus 2.5 right now. And the over-under is 42.5. I'm leaning towards the under right now.
I'd be all over. Yeah. When you guys hear my score prediction, you'll see why I just chuckled at that. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a both teams in the teens type range game.
Man.
So we'll see. But hey, head over to FanDuel. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. So based on Hugh Freeze's comments earlier this week, like it doesn't sound like Percy Lewis is the guy at left tackle moving forward. Stinks, major whiff. I mean, so many people, ourselves included, were so high on him throughout the offseason, but it has not panned out.
Let's make sure we understand too. I'm so glad you said that, because people are getting all over Auburn's coaching staff, offensive line coach Thornton, for misevaluating. I was standing next to a Senior Bowl representative at SEC Media Days. You know who I'm talking about, that said, we cannot wait to get Percy Lewis to the Senior Bowl. And multiple offensive linemen that used to play at Auburn had him projected as a third rounder. So it's not just the Auburn coaches that missed on evaluation. You've got guys that have done this for a living in the Senior Bowl and guys that played offensive tackle at a high level at Auburn saying the same thing. Everybody whiffed if that's the case.
Yeah, and it does seem like this is somewhat of a trend. Like these guys who have been fine or shown traits throughout their collegiate career, they get 1 year left of eligibility and they transfer. It's almost like they get paid and it's like the game changes for them. So I don't know. I don't know. But regardless, so let's assume he's not at left tackle anymore. You assume Dylan Wade is then at left tackle. They scoot him from left guard to left tackle. And then, oh my goodness, I forgot his name yesterday too.
Bradyn Joiner.
Thank you. I like Bradyn Joiner. Why can't I remember his name? Bradyn Joiner at left guard, Connor Liu at center, Jeremiah Wright at right guard, then is Avion Miller at right tackle. My understanding is if all of these guys wanted to come back for another year, they could.
I thought Miller was a senior.
Okay. Let me fact check that.
He's a senior on the roster. Now, what kind of senior? But I looked it up. Jeremiah Wright is a junior. Wade is a junior. Miller, too tall, is a senior.
Mm-hmm.
So my take on that was we're not going to be seeing the 2025 offensive line next week.
I think we see most. I mean, so what, you think it's 4 out of 5 then? I mean, that's still the point.
I mean, I know that Jeremiah Wright and Dylan Wade can come back. Will they come back? Do you feel really confident? If you do, then yeah, and I think you move Wade back inside the guard and go find you a left tackle in the portal and this time get it right.
So the Xavier Miller thing is weird because he's been in college 4 years and it doesn't feel like you actually see people run out of eligibility who's been playing college football for just 4 years. But yeah, he played 2 years. Played 2 years at JUCO. Then this is his second year. So just kind of, you don't really see that a whole lot anymore.
So to answer your question, I think Wade will be on the field. I think Lou will be on the field. I think if Wright comes back, he'll be on the field. But then you better find you a right tackle and a left tackle. The tackle may be in-house already. Your left tackle, you may have to go get one in the portal.
And just do the same thing and scoot Wade back in? Like, is that the goal again?
Yeah, I mean, Wade's, I think just, I mean, you've seen the evals and all that. He's projected to be a guy that could play at the next level at the guard position. But
so this is something I don't like, Daryl. And so I understand we want these guys all to go pro. Yeah, I get that. But Dylan Wade is a fine college tackle. He's fine. He's above average as a college left tackle. Just because he doesn't project to the NFL as a left tackle doesn't mean we have to move him inside. Unless you find
a better option, because then you strengthen two positions like we've talked about. If you find somebody that's equitable, you move them. If you find somebody that's better, you move them. If you don't, you leave them out at left tackle, because you've got, Senda, DeAndre Carter, Wilfred, all these guys. Tyler Johnson, Tate Johnson. I'm shocked. Two names that I'm just like, with the way the offensive line is struggling, why are these dudes not on the field more? Do you want to guess who these two names are? They're not young dudes.
You haven't said them yet?
I haven't said them yet. Why, with the way the offensive, one's a senior and one's a junior, the offensive line has struggled. They've started at other places. Why are they not playing?
Muskrat.
Yep.
Chambers, Rona Chambers.
Yep. One's a senior, one's a junior. I know they started at a group of 5.
Is it Muskrat like an emergency tight end now?
He's yeah, I guess. I mean,
that's a sign, right?
Yeah, that's
like how they really feel about you.
That's, and Seth Wilfred, I think I would expect to maybe get back in the rotation a little bit more. I'm higher on Dylan Senda. I thought he was going to, last year when Auburn got him, I thought this year he would see some snaps and get in the rotation. I'm a little concerned that these guys that looked like they were going to get in the rotation have not gotten in the rotation. I'm still very high on DeAndre Carter. I think that it's just offensive line is so hard to make the leap from high school to college.
Yeah, I understand what the freshmen aren't playing. I could see a path for Carter, but like they don't need help at guard. So like that's just kind of a tougher thing. Seth Wilfred, I mean, they must have just planned to like redshirt him going into it. I mean, that's the only thing that really makes sense, which is fine. Like I don't think he's better today than some of these other guys that we're talking about. So but to me, the surprise in this is Bradyn Joiner.
Absolutely, because he was like the third string center going into the year, right? And then he moved to guard, and now he's doing really, really well from a run blocking standpoint, and he's been a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I remember asking myself, I don't know if it was spring or fall, probably fall camp. We were out there and we were watching him go through drills, and I'm like, he looks good, but how is he ever going to play? Does he have to wait till Connor Lewis done to play? But no, he's found a way. He's found a way on the field. So
was Jeremiah Wright a Gus Malzahn recruit, or was he a Brian Harsin recruit?
He would have been a Harsin recruit.
So the offensive line.
I don't think anybody is there anybody there that is a Gus Mount? I don't think we have any Gus.
No, but it really is puzzling to me and a little bit disconcerting.
Oh, is that a joke? Were you making a joke?
No, I'm saying that the offensive line that starts Saturday will have 2 Brian Harsin recruits along the front, 2 of the 5. Who would have ever thought that with the way he recruited? That surprises me. Joiner, because he was at Auburn and that's where Harsin was all the time, watching his son play. Yeah. Very, very easy to recruit Auburn when you're eating a hot dog leaning against the fence.
But he signed when Freeze was the coach.
Who, Joiner?
Yes.
No, I don't think.
Are you sure?
So. I remember Harsin getting him, and you can go back and double check because accuracy matters to me. But I remember thinking, wow, Harsin got an offensive lineman. And I believe he signed when Harsin maybe he signed when Freeze got there. No, because it's an early signing period. So did he sign like in December after Harsin got fired in October? Could be. But that's
so he's a redshirt freshman, right? And so that'd be the same class as Tyler Johnson. Am I tripping?
So he committed.
This is great.
Yes.
Well, he committed to Harsin, but he signed with Freeze, is what I'm saying.
In December when Freeze, yes. Okay. Because Freeze was named.
Because he's Connor Lew's class.
Yeah. Okay. He committed to He committed, though, to Brian Harsin and committed to Auburn verbally when Harsin was there, but he signed when Freeze was there. Great point. Right. But Jeremiah Wright was a Harsin signee then.
Let's only give him one.
I will do that. I'll be glad.
We okay with that? Yeah.
I am glad to do that.
How can people check out everything you've got going on there? I love how we went all through all of that just so we could take one number away from
people.
From
need
Brian
to know.
Harsin.
People want to know, right? People want to be informed. They want to get it. We want to get it right for them. DAP6410 on X, Daryl Dapp on Instagram, Wednesdays, Fridays, and reaction shows with you after football games and live shows when they're on the road.
Yep. Which will, of course, be this weekend. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. And we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.